All right. I am live for today's live show. And two videos have gone either where I sound incredibly deep, like a Barry White-esque thing, which didn't work for me. And the second episode was much better, but my face melted at the first one. So if anyone was on drugs, I apologize about that because what a trip you took. Anyway, this is the third live chat for Flix and Joystix. I am Guy, and I'm going to be talking about what have I been watching lately, what games have I been playing lately. The last few videos, I've been focusing a little more on a lot of movies I've been watching. I've been watching movies basically every night this last month, and it's been fun. I've been really catching up with some really great videos. And, I haven't really talked a lot about the video games I've been playing as well. And there's been a couple. I haven't had as much time to game. I think that's really been the biggest problem with that. But I have been playing a couple things. Hello, two people that have joined up. So I want to talk about some movies that I've been checking out, and I've got all over the place in terms of what kind of genre I've been watching. So a lot of it's been home video stuff. I've done a couple, movies in the theaters. The one I went to see in the movie theaters was Ant-Man and the Wasp. As always, you have to go see every Marvel movie now. I think it's almost an obligation at this point where I like this one, but I'll miss this one or I'll catch it later. The way they design these things, you basically have to watch every single Marvel movie that comes out, because if you don't, you miss crucial plot points. I couldn't imagine watching Infinity War without having watched Thor and Guardians of the Galaxy. And, God, what was the other one? A little bit of Spider-Man. I'm trying to think. There was another one, Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy. I know I've got a couple people on here. Help me out. Which was the other one that came out just before? Okay, that's going to drive me nuts. That was terrible. Stupid YouTube made me make a channel to chat. I'm here, and Julie's trying to log in as well. Hey, John, how are you? Thank you for joining. Have you been watching the Marvel movies, John? Have you been checking out? Hi, Julie. How are you? Thank you for joining. So, Thor. That was it. That was Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor, Spider-Man, and hello, Doombot. Got all sorts of people hanging out with me tonight. This is cool. I just feel like there's one, Black Panther. I can't believe I missed that. That was the one that came out just before. But if you missed all those, you really, you're kind of out of luck when it comes to Infinity War. But that was the point. It's like I thought Ant-Man and the Wasp looked good, but I wasn't really jumping up and down to see it. I didn't really feel like I had to see it that weekend outside of spoiler issues. But I kind of felt like, you have to at this point. There's almost like an obligation. They corner you, so if you miss one, you're kind of screwed on future. Separate from some of the bigger events going on, but they made one or two little notes and nods towards Infinity War. So there you are on that. How's the voice sounding on this? Am I sounding all weird and deep? Is my face melting? All the usual technical audio issues that go with this. Also, I'm enjoying a fine beer after my long, hot day out in Florida. Wet, gross weather. Every day rains out in Florida. I can tell you that much. Looks and sounds good. Yes, I will take that as a confirmation things are fine. So other movies I've been watching. I didn't even get. I got so lost in which movie was I trying to remember. I liked Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's fun. As I said, it's a nice palate cleanser outside of, the great tragedies of Infinity War. But it was light and fun, and it was just a really good, enjoyable movie. Did you see the Blue Angels? No, I did not see the Blue Angels. The parking for that. I was reading in the paper today that people were charging anywhere from a minimum of $50 to some of the restaurants were charging up to a max of $200. I hope you like airplanes, folks, because, man, you're really paying to see them if you are. So, no, did not go see the Blue Angels, and that's before I even knew anything about how bad the parking situation was. Other movies I've been watching, like this last evening, I'm sorry, not last evening. I'm excited to check out Cloak and Dagger. Wow, I asked about the Jets because someone on Reddit posted about the trash on the beach. Oh, I didn't see that either. That's too bad. Well, you get like pack in, pack out. Well, earlier this weekend we watched Tales from the Hood, and that was interesting. I no, actually, I liked that one. I hadn't seen that one before, but I liked Tales from the Crypt, creep shows, sort of things like that. That was a good thing. I really liked the guy who's the narrator. Oh yeah, the shit. Everything was about the shit. I really liked that narrator though. He was great. He just he was a scenery munching man because everything was just great big exaggerated facial features and he was really getting into the role and he was one of the highlights of the film. I liked the first three stories. I thought they were very interesting and I thought they were very well done. The fourth one I didn't like, and there were two reasons for that. It wasn't anything to do with the story per se. They really could have used some help on pacing and editing. There was just, I understand that from the perspective of, you're talking about trying to rehabilitate this gangbanger, but this ain't no funeral home. This ain't no terror dome. Yeah, that was a great way to end that out. But yeah, from the final story trying to rehabilitate that gangbanger, it was they focused really heavily on all the scenes of violence, which I don't mind violence in movies, but 99.9 of it is fictionalized, and I just don't like really focusing on real scenes of actual human tragedy. And then the whole flashing light, near epileptic, and I don't even freak out about the flashing light thing in movies, but that was really bad, and pacing and editing could have really helped out that fourth little story in that. So I don't know. The strobe lights just blew it for me, literally. Yeah, that was the deprivation tank one. So I don't know. If they just maybe cut down a few things or maybe cut the lights, I think it would have been a stronger story. But they chose what they chose to, and now they're stuck with it. Found out there's a Tales from the Hood 2 out. That was kind of an interesting side story. Haven't seen that one yet, but it does bring another interesting thing. You don't really see a lot of black horror films out there, like horror films that are actually done by black creators. And the last one I saw, was the one by Jordan Peele, Get Out, and that was great. That was a really done one. And as I said, I liked Tales from the Hood. I thought that was a good one, but you don't really see a lot of black created horror films, and I think there are a lot of potentially interesting stories that they could do with that. Maybe one day we'll get a chance to see more, but if there are any recommendations, maybe I've just missed some. I'm sure there's probably some, way deep in the bowels of many, many millions of movies out there. For a little bit of nostalgia, watch 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the 1954 Disney film. That is Walt Disney's one and only science fiction film. And after really spending some time with that, it's like those sets are great. I really loved the sets, and it was dark, and it was super dark for what you would think 70s exploitation movies. Yeah, I would think the exploitation genre, especially for the black culture, I think would probably have something, but like a straight up, yeah, I don't know. I think they could do more like Tales from the Hood type anthologies. I think that would be cool. But excuse me. But 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea I hadn't seen that in a really long time. So you have bits and pieces of it. You have like Kirk Douglas, you remember him, and then Peter Lorre and all that. And I thought, after seeing it again, how well done that was. And it was surprisingly dark, especially for Disney at that time. But Walt Disney was known for going dark here and there, especially a lot of even in the animated movies, there was always, Bambi's mother is a great case for that. Chernobog and Fantasia, The Night on Bald Mountain. There's some weird stuff, but for the first live action Disney film like that, to see something kind of dark and mysterious and mutiny and murderous intent and all this stuff, it was really enjoyable watching that again. I had a lot of fun sitting down with that. You don't really see movies like 20,000 Leagues or even some of the other ones like Shaggy Dog or some of the other early Disney films. Disney is so focused on everything Star Wars and Marvel that I feel even if it's not Pixar, everything else has been pushed to the side lately, and that's been really unfortunate because I think they have lost all their creativity, especially in terms of their live action films, which right now are all consisting of remaking all their animated classics. That's been one of the biggest problems with watching more modern movies, and it really pushed me to kind of dig a little deeper into trying to find new types of movies. Everything is reboots and remakes, and most of them are not good, and I want new ideas. You think about all the movies in the 1980s, and they brought like a million new properties that people still love today, and now we're just exploring those same properties over and over again. Other things I've seen were A Quiet Place. That was one of the better horror films. We've been watching a lot of horror films lately, and A Quiet Place was another good one. It was really unique and a bold choice to do almost like 90% of the movie completely silent with no dialogue. They still conveyed everything pretty well, and they waited before they did the big monster reveal at the end. So a lot of the tension from that is derived from just anything can possibly go wrong, and if it does, then you are extremely at risk of having to deal with one of these monsters. And they do a lot of good setup. I mean, there's some foreshadowing, some very obvious setups in a couple places about what's going to possibly go wrong in the future, and still it was fun. There was kind of a few scenes where you just kind of sit up and you kind of wait. It's like, well, how badly and quickly is this going to hit the fan before everything talk about? But this one this one almost felt like a dare, and I feel like if I was to put like a critique quote on like the back of a video box, this would be mine. It was more clever than it had any business or right being so, and that was Wolf Cop, a Canadian indie. I don't know if it was horror. I mean, it was definitely gory. It was kind of like Teen Wolf meets RoboCop sort of thing. Oh yeah, have you heard about Wolf Cop? Wolf Cop is great. I'm not gonna lie. I was just sitting there bracing myself for the inevitable, because I mean the first part of it starts out pretty rough. It looks almost it's very, very low budget, but they did some clever things, and there were some clever catchphrases and things like that. There's some it's the fuzz. Yeah, that was a good one. There was some messed up stuff in that. It was basically this. The whole gist of it, and I won't spoil it, but this really crappy drunken cop is turned into a werewolf through events that take place during the film. And when he turns, I think we watched that one. Well, you won't forget it, because that initial werewolf transformation scene is I was like, wow, they did that. So that was, yeah. And then there's the other scene where there's a love scene, and that's new, and I felt like I shouldn't be seeing that. But otherwise, oh, you must have been drunk, much like Wolf Cop, and that's where the source of all Wolf Cop's power came from. I haven't seen Wolf Cop 2. There is a Wolf Cop 2 out there. I've heard it's not as good. You say Red Rocket. Yeah. Yeah, more than you know. More than you know. I'll just leave it to that. But in our cop genre, because we're watching all the gritty cop movies of late, we watched RoboCop as well, the original one, not the one that came out in 2014. That's a lot of fun. I hadn't seen that one in a while either. God, it's probably been like 15 years, I think, or something like that. I haven't seen it in a good while, all I know. But I forgot how well paced that was. How, it just makes fun of everything, American consumer culture, and just it just makes fun of how like crappy corporations can be, which I think is interesting. Because I mean, what are you going to do with a corporate purchased police force? And it just shows exactly what happens. But of course, you've probably seen that, and you know how gory it gets, and there's the scene with Murphy at the beginning, and then there's Toxic Waste Guy, because how can you possibly forget Toxic Waste Guy? Just I'd pour one out for him, but this is you got to pay for this beer. The last movie I want to talk about briefly, although I talked about it more in detail, I actually did a video of it, is A Ghost Story. A24 Films is doing a lot of great independent movies lately. That was something I was talking about earlier, where you just kind of feel like it's either reboots or remakes or cinematic universes, and I don't feel like there's a lot of diversity at movies anymore. I mean, I think it's great that they're giving some up and coming directors and new storytellers some chances to tell their stories, but you can only have so many Get Outs and A Quiet Places at once. They've still got to build their portfolio, and hopefully it'll inspire other people to tell unique stories as well. But A24 Films, they swerved and didn't. Oh, they swerved. That's right. Sometimes I forgot they, like, for some of these older movies, whenever they put them on, regular TV broadcast, they'd actually have alternate scenes that wouldn't be in the theatrical, and you'd have to wait 9 times out of 10 to see them on home video. I forgot about that, because that dude was nasty. And A24, we've watched like 4 of their movies this year. A Ghost Story, which is really good, but it's different. It's slow. The Disaster Artist, which is based off the movie The Room, which it's funny if you know anything about The Room. The Last Movie Star, which has Burt Reynolds, and then The Florida Project, which is kind of an interesting slice of life in a rundown motel, week, pay by the week motel. But the point is, they've got a lot of really good movies, and I feel like I'm getting a chance to see new types of movies, because I feel like everything's superheroes in the movie theater right now, and you just want to see something different lately. So those are some of the biggest ones that we've seen. Oh, I saw Scanners as well. So we've been watching a lot of horror films lately, or horror films or films with a lot of gore. So it's been interesting, and just trying to catch up with all the horror films, both old and new. Trying to think. Let's see. I've also been playing video games. I haven't had as much time to play video games. I'm trying to catch up on my backlog, which is sizable and ridiculous, and I don't really have time to play video games like I used to. Say, you were trying to scan me, weren't you, Dr. Forrester? Oh, have you seen the new comic that they're coming out with? The Mystery Science Theater comic. They did an Ashcan small edition that came out this last week. And it's pretty funny, where it, basically instead of sending them movies, they send them comics, and they're getting trapped in these cheesy, crappy comics where they're kind of forced to interact with the plot and story. And it changes everything. It's only a small preview, but I thought it was funny, and it was something I'm definitely looking forward to. I know that's coming out in September, so I'm pretty hyped about that. But I have been playing a couple games. A lot of my game playing, because I can't really get into story-based games right now, because it's my schedule's just not been good. I've been playing a lot of like pick up and play games, and the Switch has been really good for that. I've been playing a lot of Rocket League, which is basically soccer with cars. And I'm not a sports game fan, but I really, really like this game because it's fun, and they seem like the developers seem like they're having a really good time making this game. Like just last month, they put out a Jurassic Park Jeep, so you can drive around and bounce this explosive ball all over the field. But they have things like the Batmobile and the Back to the Future DeLorean. I still keep hoping they'll put out things like maybe the Ninja Turtle van or like the Ecto one from Ghostbusters. There's a couple you know, there's a couple movie cars I would love to see down the line. Rocket League's been great. Dragon's Crown is a Vanillaware developed game that's on the PlayStation, and that's like a Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Dungeons and Dragons arcade style game where you kind of beat up everybody and try to solve the big quest. And I haven't gotten to the big dragon on that yet. The artwork's great. All the body proportions are over exaggerated. It's offended a couple people. I don't see the big deal about it. Everybody's super deformed in it, so you can probably guess where that is. But I've been having a lot of fun with Dragon's Crown. That one's been really good. I need to finish that one up. The other games I'm playing on Switch they released finally the original Donkey Kong arcade game. And I'm really a big fan of old arcade games, and they've never released that before. There were all sorts of legal entanglements, and then even like the NES version, when that came out, it only had 3 of the 4 levels, and so you never got the 4th level anywhere. I think maybe, if I remember, like the Apple II version back in the day had the Pie Factory, Cement Factory, but most of them didn't. And now they do have the arcade version out, which plays very differently. It feels very differently. The nicest thing I've noticed is the fact that the controllers have been not pounded to death, so you actually are more responsive, which has been a very nice change from what I've been used to from playing Donkey Kong all these years. I actually did a video just yesterday. They released a Donkey Kong arcade cabinet Christmas ornament, and they also did a Mario Kart one. And those are pretty cool. The arcade game plays music and sound effects and everything. Definitely recommend it if you're a fan of classic arcade games and would like to put some on your Christmas tree. A couple years ago, they did Pac-Man and Galaga as well, so those were pretty cool. I've also been getting back into Doom, the one that came out a couple years back. They re-released it for Switch, and now I'm getting a chance to actually sit down and play with that. And that's been a lot of fun. I don't like a lot of the first-person shooter games. I don't want to spend all my time being strategic and hiding behind crates and planning, strategic moves. That's what I like about Doom. They reward you for meat hitting every single situation. Yes, I would definitely recommend getting Doom because it plays differently than every other first-person shooter that's out there right now. And by that, I mean it plays like Doom. You run up and you're punching demons in the face, and they reward you the more aggressively you play. Doombot. Awesome. But the more aggressively you play and not hiding behind crap, because you'll actually get punished for like hiding and wussing out and trying to be strategic. The game is great. Like you go in there, charge, and everything's even more gory. You have like glory kills where you're ripping heads off and crushing skulls, and it's immensely satisfying. I'm pretty laid back, but I do like violent video games just because you can go out there and kick ass and have a good time with that, which I think is awesome. Oh, hello, all these people, and goodbye, all these people. All these people like came and went. Was it something I said? But it was really cool in the sense that, it's just fun. I mean, even like the music starts like there's heavy metal music, and when you start getting into a fight, the music will actually like go in sync with the guns that you're firing. So if you're really ripping in the demons with your guns, the music starts reflecting that as well. Love this one. I'd highly recommend it. It's been a long time playing this, and I'm finally sitting down. It's been on my backlog, and it's like I feel morally obligated to sit down and play with Doom. There was one game that I found yesterday in the arcades. If you like classic gaming experiences, there is a arcade company called Raw Thrills, and it's headed up by Eugene Jarvis, who did Defender and all the Robotron and all those games back for Williams Midway. But he's got his own new company now since then, and he's pretty much the only one who is doing arcade games anymore these days. You know, anytime you go like to Dave and Buster's or the movie theater or whatever, he's the only guy out there who's actually putting out stuff. And he's put out a new 4-player Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it's awesome. It's basically a kind of a cross between the first and second arcade game, and even like the one you can play on Super Nintendo, where you go in, you can like throw enemies towards the screen. Yeah, radical. Of course, I played Donatello. What was your usual go-to for Ninja Turtles? Donatello was mine because of the stick. Yeah, I absolutely had to play with his bow, use his bow staff. And it plays like that, and it's got all the cool moves and things. Leo or Don. Yep. Swords and bow staffs. And there's a couple different things. Everyone's a Donnie player. Everyone loves the purple tech geek. That is awesome. Yep, Reach. Because who wants to play as Raphael with his little dinky doo size? You're not really gonna get anybody with that. But it's great. It plays just like the old arcade games. They have something called Turtle Power now, where like after you beat up enough people, you can unleash like a special move, and like you can find turtle power that will give you the stuff. But everything else plays like the arcade game. It's based on the previous Nickelodeon cartoon. It looks like that. For some reason, Bebop acts like Michael Jackson. He was even doing like spins and whoos and shamones, which I thought was really funny. I've only seen like maybe 2 or 3 episodes of the last Turtles, and I didn't see any with Bebop, but that I don't know if that's like a regular thing or something they stuck in the game, but I think it's funny. And you can also win tickets. So like we were winning tickets left and right for beating up bosses. You get a lot of tickets for beating up bosses, but just fighting through and surviving a while. And it was really fun. I had a great time. The other game that I would recommend from Raw Thrills is Space Invaders Frenzy, which is basically like this big gun, and it's just strapped to like nonstop Space Invaders from the old arcade game. And that one's great. If you see that one in the arcade, you're not going to play for a long time. You're going to get a couple minutes and then it's over. But it's fast and it's frantic, and you're sitting there with the big laser just blowing crap up and earning tickets, and everything seems to be ticket based these days. But good for them for bringing back Space Invaders and making it relevant again. So that's everything I've been watching and playing right now. If you have any suggestions for me, I'm certainly down for it, because I'm trying to go through and really get into new movies that I might not have seen before, and trying to get into like the weird stuff. That seems to be my summer mission, is getting into the weird stuff. But outside of that, I've just been working on the channel. I've been trying to put a video or 2 every week. A lot of it is some of my older content that I've had on previous places, but let's see, they may have it at our main event center. Lubbock sadly has a few places that have arcade machines. I'm having buffering issues. I don't know if that's on your end or mine. I guess we'll find out. But I know Dave & Buster's put out a Rampage arcade game as well to coincide with the movie that came out in April. And the home video release actually comes out this Tuesday for Rampage. So if you haven't seen Rampage, that is super dumb fun. And I really enjoyed that one. Now, as far as the site goes, I've just been kind of repurposing some of my older pieces and just, trying to give them a new life. And putting out 1 or 2 videos a week. Right now, everything's been 2, because it's a little easier to just, put a new intro and some updated information on one of my older pieces and put it out. But, I'm having fun with it. I just kind of wanted everything in one place, and then I'm working on new video content. And as I said, with the site called Flix Joystix, I'm primarily going to focus on movies and video games. There will always be some little pet project that I will focus on. There's actually one old comic that I have planned. I've got to get into my storage and get this particular comic out, but I want to do like a little feature review about it. But I want to talk about movies and video games and just have fun with it. So I'm looking at changing up my format a little bit. For those that have seen it, I'm certainly open to feedback to see what you like, what you don't like. Is it too familiar to previous stuff? Should I try some new ideas? Right now, I kind of have milestones about where I want to be. I'm getting closer to episode 20. I might change a couple things with my intro by then, because I figure 20 videos in, you should know who I am, or at least not have to introduce myself every single time. And then as time goes on, I think by the third month of doing all of this, I want to really start approaching new ideas. I kind of want to get in more sketch comedy stuff. I really enjoy filming side bits. It's just a question of time. And I do need to get a better camera. I've had a number of issues that I'm eventually going to be opening up a Patreon. I just wanted to get some more video content under my belt, just so followers that hopefully subscribe, because right now I have less than 10, which is not a bad thing, and I'm very grateful for everyone who has subscribed, but it's a very small audience to resonate with. It's actually really hard getting people to subscribe to a channel. I don't know what it is. I guess it's just as easy to come back, and if you like something, you can just go back to the previous videos, but a lot of people don't really seem to subscribe unless you're like completely won them over, and that's what I'd like to eventually do, is win people over with what I'm doing. But it's been fun. I've had a good time. I've had some nice responses. I'm definitely always thinking of new ideas that I want to do with this solo content. There are some things going on in life that are being discussed behind the scenes. I don't want to announce it just yet, but it will change up a couple things, hopefully for the better. I think for the better, as far as I know. But we're getting there. I'm always open to new suggestions and new ideas. I want to make this fun for me to film and put out, and for those that watch it, I want it to be fun to watch. My biggest thing is I want to make people laugh. I want to talk about subjects they may not be completely familiar with. I will certainly talk about things that are going on and people are excited. Change browsers, welcome back. But as I was saying, we've got a lot of stuff going on with the channel, and I'm trying to come up with new ideas about how to kind of mix it up. And I want it to be funny, and I don't want to talk about the same stuff that everyone else talks about. I know it can probably lead to more popular views and hits and things, but I definitely want to make this something where I don't ever feel pressured to discuss something that's, I feel obligated that I have to because it's popular. I want to really talk about things that have meaning to me, and hopefully other people as well. And even certain, topics that people are like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. I just, I kind of want to remind people of fun old stuff. I think that was what was fun about like the Starriers and the Robo Force. And I met the guy I talked to the guy who is the CEO of Toyfinity, and he actually brought back the RoboForce property as well as a bunch of the Ideal toys, and that was cool, and that never would have happened had I not made the original video back in the day. So I'm looking for more experiences and looking for people who get in all these weird, goofy stuff, and hopefully people will be down for it. That's basically where I am. Well, I'm going to start wrapping this up. I try to keep this anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. I'm certainly opening the floor. If anyone wanted to ask me anything, I'm certainly down for that. But otherwise, I'll probably wrap it up in the next 10 minutes just because I don't want to overstay my welcome on that. But yeah, things have been going good. Just keeping busy. Been just trying to go through all my collection. It's like it's funny when you start really sorting through all your archive stuff. I'm such a pack rat. I showed this not too long ago, but I found this coming out of their Shells tour. I was so excited when I found this at the thrift store. I thought it was the actual concert, but it's the making of, which I guess is harder to find because no one ever really thinks about that. But I got that free out of a thrift store, so I'm going to have to start looking up old VHS titles. But I got a lot of subjects that I want to talk about. I lost your image for some reason. Let me see if I can get it back. I've been collecting Klingon prop replicas and costume parts. So, oh, cool. You'll have to show some pictures of that. I'd like to definitely see that, because you're always talking about that, and I know you've been into Klingon stuff forever. So I'd love to see some of your more modern stuff. Oh, how do you feel about the new? That's like okay. Is that an okay different interpretation, or is it just something that I'll wait before I get my opinion on that? I don't want to influence your decision, but I'm curious to see what your thoughts, since you're a big Klingon fan, what your thoughts are on the new Klingons from Discovery. But I've got like a whole bunch of subjects I want to talk about, and some of them are like modern stuff. I've been getting more and more passionate about the video store lately. I just really like reading up on video stores. I actually found a couple in the last year. There's still a few out there if you look, and they're usually in small. Well, I take that back. Well, I found one in Vegas, and that was really cool. And then when I was doing some traveling this last month, I found one, and it was really cool because it was pretty huge. The way it was, what was that place called? Oh gosh, it was in Gallup, New Mexico, and the way it looked, it almost looked like an adult video store from the outside, and because it was dark and everything like that. And I was like, but it gave the impression that it was like general movies. I was like, well, let's see what happens. So I walked in, and it was general movies, but their collection was crazy impressive. There were some titles that I haven't seen in years, and I thought that was really awesome, because every time we go to a new format for movies, we lose more and more and more. And, just seeing some stuff on DVD that I hadn't seen was really awesome. And I actually read an article today that the last Blockbuster video in existence is in Oregon. And there were two others in Alaska, but they're closing, I think, this next week, if not already. And yeah, I mean, Blockbuster is still surviving, barely on life support, but it's still here. But there's still one in Oregon, and I posted a link to that because I just thought that was interesting. And as I said, I find things interesting. Hopefully you guys will too. I was on the fence and don't hate the look. I think I may have figured out that we will see all the different versions when they jump from universe to universe. I like the relationship between Vok and L'Rell after his transformation. I watched Discovery for 8 episodes, and you know me, I love Star Trek. I love like pretty much everything, and even some of the J.J. Abrams stuff. I didn't like Into Darkness. That was crap. Why bother remaking The Wrath of Khan? That is just when they could have done like a whole side new story. I liked the first one, and I liked the third one of the remakes, but I just didn't like Into Darkness because it just started cribbing Wrath of Khan verbatim, and that drove me absolutely nuts. But of course, I love the original series and Next Gen, and there are some great episodes of Deep Space Nine, and there's even some likable, Voyager and Enterprise and things like that. But I don't know. I just didn't feel. Yeah, I thought the third was fun to watch, and I felt it was the most Star Trek of all the Star Trek films. But yeah, it's just I've watched 8 episodes of Discovery, and I've heard it got better, and I know the big end season spoiler, so you aren't gonna break me on it. But I think there is a lot of suspension of disbelief required from maybe not the general audience, but certainly the more diehard Star Trek fan on believing that this all takes place 10 years before Kirk's time. And they've got this magic teleporting, spaceship that goes everywhere. And this is never discussed anywhere else or replicated but again, they aren't making the show for the old school Star Trek fan, kind of like how I'm starting to come to the conclusion that the new Star Wars movies are not for the old school Star Wars fan. I think Force Awakens was a nice lure to get everyone back with the promise of all your old favorites, and they've done some nice cameos and things like that. But Last Jedi was something. and I don't, because it was something, I don't know if that's going to leave them really much room to work with in terms of episode 9. So let's see. I just spoiled myself intentionally. With me, they created a worse thing with the story. I stopped caring about the characters. That was a problem for me. I've seen all the episodes. It's a great sci-fi show. As a new Trek, it's great to be open-minded. Last Jedi, I need to rewatch it. I think it's good to be an open-minded. People kind of like crap on canon nitpickers, and I think yes and no, because you can't expect them to have every microscopic minutia of the whole series, otherwise they might get trapped into something. But I think there is like an overall large story that they need to keep in mind as they're writing their new stories. It still gives you plenty to work with. But yeah, Last Jedi, I think I was in shock when, just realizing that Luke's on the screen again, and this is the last time we'll see Carrie Fisher, and then repeated viewings. I think I've seen it 2 more times since then. And there were things that just didn't sit well with me in the first time I saw it, and then they're so much more pronounced as you watch Star Wars The Last Jedi again. There were just some sloppy, messy, nihilistic choices, and those are the phrases I always use for Last Jedi. It's a sloppy film. They one guy wanted to subvert expectations, and he did it, and he kind of left a huge mess in his wake for someone else to clean up if they possibly can. And I think that's the best way for Last Jedi. I was excited to see how the story was going to go, but felt gypped with the death of Snoke. Snape, Snope, Snake. I will accept all those answers for him. But they kind of painted themselves into a giant messy corner, and it's like someone coming up and you've built this big beautiful sandcastle, and someone has come up and just kicked it down, and then just took a bucket and just went boom, here you go, figure it out, and then walked off, and now you're supposed to build something with this. So yeah, I mean there are other ways to subvert expectations, and I think it's funny that some fans treat this like it's a high concept art film when it's Star Wars. I don't care how much I love Star Wars. It's Star Wars. It's a popcorn film. It's meant to, sell toys and be fun and watch the pretty spaceship battles and lightsaber fights and learn all about the Force. But let's not pretend it's something greater than what it's ever been, because it never has been, as much as I love it. But I don't want to get too much into Star Wars, honestly, because it's funny. That movie's been out for 6 months now, and there's still video channels dedicated entirely to being pissed off about it, and I just don't have the time, interest, or energy in going down that path. Forever will it dominate your destiny. But yeah, it's been interesting. Sci-fi's been interesting, and a lot of these reboots have been take it or leave it. It's just you have to kind of get to the point where you realize you're older, and they're starting to make movies and TV shows for newer generations, trying to lure them in the same way they did us, and they've got their way of doing it. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Well, I think that's kind of everything for me. I'm going to be doing a few new changes in probably about 2 or 3 episodes from now. I've got a couple retro remixes coming up that I think will be fun. Just some of the old classics. I kind of added some new stuff to them. And as I go on progressively, I've got some new ideas that I want to implement. I'm open to suggestion. I'm open to new ideas. If there's something that you'd like to see me do in terms of the presentation of the story, so I'm not just some big giant talking head during the whole time, and maybe you want more sketch comedy, or I lulled when you played Donkey Kong and your pup left. Yeah, that was completely unscripted. He's normally right by me. He's actually over there right by me. He has a little pillow over there. He just kind of sleeps on whenever I film one of these things. And he was not having my annoyance at getting hit, dropped by a barrel on Donkey Kong. He was over that. But I kind of want to have some more fun stuff in it, and I'm open to ideas. And if there's something that you want to see me cover, talk about a little bit weird. One of our, because John, we did stuff back in the day and watched a ton of weird stuff. If there's something that you'd like to see me cover, I'd love to kind of approach some subjects. I was looking through my notes. Actually, I probably have no less than 40 ideas I can cover. And then I schedule all this stuff out, and then it's like, oh, I'd rather do that right now. So I add something new to the list, and it's like not even there in the first place. So I'm definitely not at a loss for reserves, but I've got a nice curated list for things I can do down the line. And so I'm not hurting for things to talk about, but I always like, as I said, there's been all sorts of things that is like, oh, I had never thought about talking about this, and it sounds great. So that's where I am. I'm here to have fun, talk about goofy stuff. That is going to be one of the changes, though, and I'll leave this as my last slide. I do like talking about pop culture. Video games are always pop culture, no matter what it is. And a lot of the movies I've covered in the past, and even what I'm covering right now, are all sci-fi or horror or fantasy or things like that. I do want to start getting into other types of films, really put the flicks into Flix and Joystix. So that's my ultimate goal, where I really want to start talking about my love of movies and all the good stuff that has come out. So I think one of my upcoming episodes, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the video store, and just, as I said, I mentioned that earlier, but I think that's something that I've been working on a book. That's another surprise that's been going on, but I've been writing about that, but I've been getting a lot of unique information about the video store, and I think I want to do a standalone episode, maybe as a complimentary piece to it, or just talk about video stores because it was kind of fun. I still actually have my name badge over there. It's on top of my movie collection, which is kind of fun. Who knows? Maybe I'll pull out an old outfit for old time's sake for the video store piece. You still too, along with your card? Yeah, I still have my card too. I have cards from both locations I worked, so that was fun. But I think that's it. So definitely, if you hung in, I appreciate people hanging out and talking with. It's always nice to actually have a general conversation in one of these live shows instead of hoping for the best, especially since I'm an editing machine. I'm not a great editor, but I definitely like to edit in my standalone videos. So going live is always interesting because anything does go. But I do appreciate people coming in and hanging out. And if, for those of you who are walking in for the first time and this is already aired and you're living in the past, by all means, hello and welcome. Thanks for stopping by and watching if you made it this far. And that's it, I think. So thanks, you guys. I will definitely, I think I figured out my format. I'm doing it every 6 episodes. So when I get up to episode 24 or episode 23, just know episode 24 is going to be the next live video. So that's where I am. That's how you can predict me. All right, you guys, thank you for stopping by. I had fun. Definitely appreciate talking with everyone, and I will... click that icon in the bottom right corner. Ding! I need to have like a bell. Actually, where the hell did I put that bell? I really have to clean my desk. Hold on. Now you're getting the true unscripted as I'm knocking things over. Well, anyway, I was given a bell, and I probably should. Dang it. I don't have the damn bell. Well, that could have been spontaneous and hilarious, but no. Oh, yes. Hey, what's up, everyone? Got talking loud. Don't forget to click and like and subscribe and do some hand signs and jazz hands and Macarena. And yeah, no, that's probably never going to be me on this channel. So I can call you. Yeah. No. Yeah. If you like my stuff, definitely hang out. If you don't, well, thanks for checking it out anyway. But all right, seriously, guys, you guys are keeping me. All right, I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Take care.